When I was 18, the doctor diagnosed me with polycystic ovarian syndrome. It was at that point I had decided that I'm not going to try and have a baby. Like it's nearly impossible to have a healthy pregnancy with PCOS. I met Stuart, and when we got married, he wasn't for sure he wanted any kids. So that was kind of like perfect. A couple years after we had gotten married, it just came over me that I needed to be obedient and listen to what God was wanting. And that was for me to get pregnant. And I was like, well, how am I going to express this to Stuart? Because Stuart doesn't want this.
When Bailey and I first got married, I didn't want another kid because I already had 2 kids. One day we're sitting in church and I just got this overwhelming feeling, and it was that Bailey and I were to have a child together.
We tried for about a year to get pregnant, and then we got pregnant. It was a little bit into the pregnancy that I just started feeling like something wasn't right. And we went to the doctor, and during the sonogram, the sonographer said she was gonna go get our doctor and come back. And I looked at Stuart and I was like, yeah, something's not right. The doctor came in and he was like, well, you had a miscarriage. And there was a part of me that already knew that baby was gone. And I think that was like the hardest part, was I had known, but I was still just trying to convince myself that everything was okay. It was about a week later, and I told Stuart that I was like, I'm done for right now. I can't go down that path again of trying to get pregnant.
A few months after that, we were trying again, and we were able to get pregnant again. During that period, it was a bit of an emotional roller coaster.
When it popped up positive, Stuart, he was standing right there and he was just so happy. And I was speechless. My mind and my heart was still with the first baby. I didn't want to be happy with this pregnancy because I felt I was doing an injustice to my first baby. I didn't want to move on from that baby. It took a while for me to come to terms that I can still remember that baby and honor that baby, but still be happy with this baby that God gave me. Getting to that point of being joyful in this pregnancy, it took a lot of intentional thoughts. I had to pray a lot. I really don't think I could have done it without God's help. I had to let God just handle the situation. I had to just give it to him. With a lot of work, I started to enjoy the pregnancy.
Not long after that, when I got saved at youth camp, got baptized, and I decided to take on more responsibilities at the church. And it was literally days after I did that Bailey and I went in for a checkup on the baby, and they told us, okay, we're taking you to the hospital.
I felt so bad. I couldn't think straight. I couldn't speak clearly. I couldn't see straight. They checked my blood pressure, and it was 200 over 125. It was probably about an hour later, the nurse came in and said, well, you're gonna have your baby today. I just remember looking at Stuart, and we were both just like, oh God, because he was so little and he was coming into the world before he was ready. They said, okay, it's time. They got me situated and they brought Stuart in, and it was like in that moment, I wasn't alone because my best friend was with me. He was everything I needed in that moment.
There was a time during delivery where I kind of really had no idea where I was at or what was going on. There's a very dark sense over me. And then I heard Palmer make a noise, and there he was.
It sounded like a cat. And I was like, was that him? And Stuart was like, yeah, that was him. And then they took Palmer out. I just remember seeing this glass cage, and I couldn't see him. And they said, okay, Mama, we're taking him to the NICU.
The first time I saw Palmer in the incubation chamber, my heart, it dropped. And he was making the cutest cry, and I lost it. I started crying. He was so fragile. He was so small. and it was extremely scary. And at that point in time, I realized we could be on, touch and go for the next several months.
It was just so tiny. There was so much fear in that moment because how could something so small live? And I just immediately started praying, and I was like, God, why are you doing this? Because I cannot go through this pain again. We fast forward a little bit, and I'm able to leave the hospital. And it's so hard to describe leaving the hospital and leaving your baby there, because your baby is supposed to come with you. We get through the first 5 days. We have brain scans, and everything looked great. On day 7, I was finally able to hold him, and they brought this itty bitty baby that had like a CPAP and all these wires and all of these leads on him, and placed him right here. And I just sobbed because for the first time, I felt complete. From the moment Palmer was born, he had the odds stacked against him. And each week that passed, he was shocking everybody because he was surpassing all of our expectations. When they said, okay, we're going home, it was like, oh my God, we did it, we made it. And our precious baby made it too. And I knew he was gonna be okay. God's peace was on me because there were so many moments that I should have or could have literally lost my mind or sunken so much further into depression, but I didn't. I knew that Palmer was gonna be okay. I knew that we were gonna get to take him home, and we did.
When I look at him now, he's definitely our miracle baby, and it truly is a blessing, and I thank God every day.